What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have a very important conversation. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past few months, then you might have realized that there's something going on with Aeroplan, Canada's largest frequent flyer program. Ever since Air Canada announced their intention to buy back the program and introduce a brand new loyalty program of their own sometime in 2020, there's been a huge amount of uncertainty around the Aeroplan program, and that hasn't been helped by a host of technical issues that have plagued the program in recent months. So in this video, we're going to catch up a little bit about what's been happening with Aeroplan, talk about some of the issues that members have been experiencing, and then I'm going to give you some of the first updates about the new Aeroplan or Air Canada loyalty program straight from the head of the program himself. I'm going to begin this video with some context about all of the problems at Aeroplan recently and why these problems have been happening. If you just want to hear the updates about the new program, then I'll give you this timestamp over here and you can go skip ahead and see my updates about the new program over there. So, what on earth is going on with Aeroplan right now? Well, to begin, you have to realize that for the past 15 or 20 years, Aeroplan has been a standalone company from Air Canada, even though it's been the loyalty program for the airline. Now, around 2 years ago, we heard the news that Air Canada wanted to buy back the Aeroplan program and bring it back in-house. They wanted to make a brand new loyalty program of their own that was unified within the Air Canada company rather than a separate company of its own. So once that deal was completed, everyone sort of started to expect that Air Canada would launch a brand new loyalty program of their own sometime in 2020. Now, around the middle of last year, in 2019, was around the time when Air Canada started making changes to the Aeroplan program before the new loyalty program was launched. You'll remember that before September 2019, we were able to have 2 stopovers on a round-trip ticket with Aeroplan, and as of September 1st, they changed that rule to only allow you to have either 1 stopover or 1 open jaw. So that was the first round of changes. And after that, around November 2019 is when we heard the news that Air Canada and Aeroplan were moving their back-end reservation system from their old system that was like decades old into this new system by a company called Amadeus. Now, I'm personally not too familiar with how these back-end systems work, or passenger service systems, or PSSs as they're called. I don't really know how exactly they work. I just know that Air Canada moved from their old one to this new one by Amadeus sometime around November 2019. And that's what has caused all the issues that Aeroplan users are experiencing at the moment. I mean, everything from people not being able to log into their accounts, Aeroplan members not being able to see existing reservations, members not being able to redeem miles out of their accounts because their account hasn't been moved from the old system to the new system yet. We've heard stories of Aeroplan members who have an existing reservation having their bookings get completely messed up by a single 5 to 10 minute schedule change. We've also heard many stories about people being told over the phone that they can no longer piece together their own flights on different Star Alliance airlines when making an Aeroplan booking. And I mean, that has always been the key strategy to getting maximum value out of your Aeroplan miles, because that's what allows you to avoid the hefty fuel surcharges on Air Canada, and also lets you avoid the terrible results that the search engine gives you when you search for a flight. And nowadays, instead of that, a lot of people are being told over the phone, sorry, we can only book what's available online. Now, normally, when you have an agent over the phone who's not doing what you want them to do, then the strategy is basically to hang up and call again and try to get a different agent. But that has been made much more difficult by probably the biggest problem that has plagued Aeroplan out of all the problems, and that's the unbelievably long wait times over the phone with the Aeroplan contact center. Most of the times when you call, you can't even get into the hold queue because the call center wait times are so ridiculously long. And even if you do get into the hold queue, you can expect to wait, 1 to 2 hours on hold before getting to speak with an agent. So that's basically the current state of affairs with Aeroplan, and if I'm being perfectly honest, Right now is probably a very, very difficult time to redeem your Aeroplan miles because any little thing that you have to call the contact center for is going to take at least 1 to 2 hours, if not more, of your time. Before we move on from this, here's a little quick tip. If you really, really, really need to call the Aeroplan contact center and you really, really need to get through right now, immediately, it's really urgent, then ask a friend of yours that has Air Canada Super Elite or even any kind of elite status to lend you their Aeroplan number, and that'll put you into a priority sequence to get through before everybody else. And if that doesn't work, if you're like, I don't have any friends with Air Canada Elite status, then if you have any friends with Aeroplan Diamond status, then that also works. That'll also help you jump the queue a little bit, even though I believe it's lower in priority compared to the Air Canada Elites. Okay, so we know that Air Canada's implementation of the Amadeus system has gone disappointingly, to say the least, and right now there are a whole bunch of problems plaguing Aeroplan on the technical side, and on top of that, there's a lot of uncertainty about the future of the program too, with the 2020 launch date of the new Air Canada program coming up very soon. So in the midst of all that, what can we expect going forward? Well, I recently attended an event by Air Canada where they were launching their brand new Airbus A220 aircraft. It was a very exciting day for the airline, as it always is when you're launching a brand new plane. But also in attendance at the event was Mark Nasr, who's the head of Aeroplan and who's spearheading the transformation from the old program into the new. I got the chance to ask Mark a few questions about the future of the Aeroplan program, some of the problems that we've been facing recently, some of the concerns that members have been having in terms of what the new program might look like, whether it'll still be as valuable or as lucrative as it is today. And Mark went on the record very kindly to confirm a few details for us. So without further ado, I'll share those details here in the video, and I'll also provide my own comments on sort of what I think about the changes that are coming up. The first thing that Mark cleared up for us is the timeline of the new Aeroplan program. Now, Air Canada is aiming for a launch date of Q3 2020, which means sometime around July of 2020. Now, Mark was very keen to clarify that Air Canada intends to announce all the details, every single detail about the new loyalty program many months in advance of the launch date to give members as much heads up as possible about the upcoming changes. And he specifically said that Air Canada's goal is to have absolutely zero surprises for members on the day of the launch. So in terms of the future of Aeroplan, let's say over the next year or so, I would expect from now until July 2020, we'll hopefully see some of those issues relating to the Amadeus transition slowly getting cleared up, and then July 2020 should be when the new program launches. Now, obviously, a large part of our conversations revolved around what kind of changes we can expect in the new program compared to the program as it is now. And on this point, Mark said that the program is likely to go in two separate directions depending on the type of redemption you're making. The first of these directions is going to be on flights within North America because, as Mark clarified for us, the airlines are seeing some very high loads on North American flights these days. The economy's doing well, everybody's traveling, the seats on the planes in North America are getting filled very well. Now, what this means is that when people try to redeem their miles for flights within North America, then they may sometimes struggle to find the available award seats because they're all getting booked up by people who are just paying cash. So because of that, Air Canada has been looking into implementing a way for members to redeem miles for any available seat on North American flights. And even if that means that when a flight is very popular, that might require more miles to be paid, whereas when a flight is less popular, you might even pay fewer miles than you pay now. And in the industry, that's basically known as a dynamic award chart, where the price in points more accurately reflects the price in cash, but more flights are going to be available for redemption in points. So that's kind of Air Canada's position on flights within North America. Because of the underlying economics there where everybody wants a seat, they're going to try to make it possible for everybody to redeem miles for a seat, even if there's a bit of a sliding scale in terms of how many miles are actually required. Now, on the other hand, the underlying economics for international flights, especially on Star Alliance partners in business and first class, are completely different. From speaking to Mark, I got the impression that the people at Air Canada who are building this new loyalty program are very much aware of the fact that fancy business class and first class flights are an amazing way to entice members to become more loyal to the program and to participate more actively with the prospect of one day redeeming their miles for one of those flights. And Mark was very clear about the fact that Air Canada recognizes the trust and transparency that comes with having a published award chart, unlike some of their North American competitors who one day just decided to say, there's no more award chart, the price you see is the price you pay. So from this, we can conclude that whereas the North American redemptions are likely moving to a slightly more dynamic scale, the partner redemptions, especially in premium cabins, will likely still have some kind of fixed award chart associated with them. And for those of us, like myself, who prefer to use our miles for premium redemptions on partner airlines, this is obviously very good news. And we just have to remember that ultimately, we're in the minority here, okay? Because it seems like most Aeroplan members just prefer to use their miles on a simple North American flight, whether it's domestic or to the US, and that's why Air Canada has decided to go with this two-pronged redemption system. Now, I also spoke to Mark about a few other topics, and one of these is, of course, all the issues that have plagued Aeroplan since the transition to the Amadeus PSS in November 2019. And of course, Mark brought up the fact that a system migration of this scale at an airline of Air Canada's stature is, of course, a huge undertaking. And I, of course, appreciate that as well. Apparently, the migration was a task that involved 700,000 man-hours. And so, of course, that's an almost unimaginably large task, and there's bound to be some hiccups along the way. But Mark also said that Air Canada very much recognizes that the current state of affairs really isn't good enough. The call center wait times, the technical issues on the app and on the Aeroplan website, they're working very hard day and night to fix those. Apparently, they're making solid month-by-month improvements in the sense that the December issues were stronger than they were in November, and now the January issues seem like an improvement from the December situation. But Mark recognizes that there's still a lot of work to be done and simply asks Aeroplan members to have a little bit of patience and pardon Air Canada and Aeroplan for all this little noise that's going on around the program. The system migration, according to Mark, was very much a necessary step in the building out of this new loyalty program, and also for Air Canada to make a whole bunch of other advancements in the future. So they're hoping to resolve the issues associated with the migration as soon as possible. Now, finally, let's finish off with some more positive news, which is the fact that Mark basically all but confirmed that the second stopover on Aeroplan round-trip redemptions was very much removed as a temporary measure because of the system transition to Amadeus, and it will be returning with the launch of the new program, if not as of the launch, then shortly after. Mark indicated that Air Canada very much recognizes the value to its members in having that second stopover on a round trip and potentially getting to visit 3 places for the price of 1. And yeah, he was he's very pleased to be able to confirm on the record that that second stopover will be coming back with the new program. From my perspective, obviously as somebody who's taken a series of crazy 2 stopover trips around the world with Aeroplan in the past, I am obviously overjoyed to hear the news that the second stopover will be coming back. I actually think that the stopovers are such an easy and attractive way for Air Canada to differentiate their loyalty program from the competition, many of which don't allow stopovers at all. And it pretty much doesn't cost Air Canada anything either, right? Because you're still getting on the same flights, so Air Canada's still paying for the same flights, but you just get to stop for longer in the middle, and that brings you so much value as a traveler. So yeah, I think in the future, the 2 stopovers are going to be a great way to entice more people to participate in the loyalty program, and I know that I personally will be looking to take advantage of it as much as possible. Finally, we talked about the Aeroplan credit cards. And here's another bit of positive news, which is basically that there are going to be lots and lots of exciting new offers and products coming out to be associated with this brand new Air Canada loyalty program. Mark confirmed that all 3 of the credit card partners, TD, CIBC, and American Express, are basically all in on this. And they're committed to giving their customers as nice and as attractive products as possible when the new Aeroplan program launches in the summer. So that's very exciting to hear. And if I had to give my overall impressions on the new Air Canada loyalty program after speaking to Mark, I would say that I'm cautiously optimistic about the program. And I don't often say that when there's change that happens in the industry. Oftentimes when there's changes like this, when there's mergers and acquisitions and loyalty programs are changing, the net effect tends to be negative, and there tends to be a general trend towards devaluation. And so in that context, right, with our expectations already set pretty low, I actually think that Air Canada might surprise us a little bit with this new program. But of course, as they say, it's not officially official until it's on aircanada.com, so I don't think we should be rejoicing just yet, but instead I'd just like to pass on to you a few of the details I heard from a very reputable source about the future of the program. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it's helped you clear up a bit of the confusion surrounding Aeroplan at the moment. If so, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below the video and let me know in the comments, what do you make about the future of Aeroplan and the details that we learned in this video? And have you been struggling with the Aeroplan call center in recent times? I'll see you in the next video. And so that's what's really badly need to call the Aeroplan contact center, and you really need to get through really urgently, then